All right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We might have a few more people trickle in, but I wanted to take some time to go over this intro slide that you guys can currently see. Hello, my name is Kelly Brucker. I am Tech Elevator's lead pathway program director. For those of you who are not familiar with Tech Elevator, we are a coding bootcamp who is headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, but we also have locations in Columbus, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Columbus. So we are, like I said, a coding boot camp. We pretty much take people who are interested in making a career change and pivoting into a role as a developer, and we teach them how to become developers. We give them all the tools that they need to learn how to code in 14 weeks. It's a full-time program, and by the end of the program, we help them land awesome jobs. So at Tech Elevator, I actually lead up our pathway program, which is essentially our career development program. So our pathway program runs right in line with everything we do in the classroom. So in addition to learning how to code, we work with our students on developing their soft skills, their resume, their LinkedIn profile, and landing that first job as a developer. A little bit about myself. I'm a career changer myself. I actually was a news reporter in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for the beginning of my career. It was something I had wanted to do since I was a little girl, and I did it, and I decided I did not like it. I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't passionate about it. So I moved back to Cleveland, where I'm originally from, worked in a few odd-end jobs until I got settled into a technical recruiting role. While I was there, I actually met the CEO of Tech Elevator, Anthony Hughes, and he just had this amazing passion and excitement about this really cool organization that he had built. And I thought to myself, that is definitely somebody I want to stay in touch with, and it's a company that I would love to work with one day. Well, that day came much sooner than I expected. I think it was about 6 months after I met him that he posted on LinkedIn about the opportunity, and I jumped right at it, sent him a message, and here I am now, 3 years later. So I actually lead our career development program. So we have career coaches who sit at each campus, and I work with each of those pathway program directors, as we call them, to continue to develop our pathway program and work on that. So we are really excited to bring you guys a little bit of our pathway program. So a lot of these career conversation sessions that we're going to be holding over the next couple of weeks, they take bits and pieces of our pathway program. So we're really excited to share them with the community. So before I jump into today's presentation, I just want to go over a few logistics. If you guys would like to, feel free to turn your video on. We would love to see all your beautiful faces. At the same time, please mute your audio just to eliminate any background noise. I will apologize in advance. I have a 5-month puppy who is currently in the basement with my boyfriend, who is crying at the door because he cannot be up here right now. So if you guys hear any barking or crying, it is probably my puppy, and I apologize for it in advance. If you do want to change your view, if you're not familiar with Zoom, wherever you see my video at right now, there should be a black bar above it. You have a few different options. You can hide my video completely. You can make it just so you see whoever is speaking. You can select the 2 bars, which shows just kind of a little strip, or you can see the gallery view. So you can see, I believe, up to 20 or 25 people who are on the call at a time. And if you have any questions, our director of marketing, Andrea, will be facilitating and moderating the chat. So please feel free to share any of your questions in there, and she's going to take them and save them for the end when we have some Q&A. Also, just to give you guys a heads up, this session is being recorded. So we will be sending it out via email to everybody who was on this, if you want to go back and reference it later, or if you want to share it with somebody in your network. All right, so let's get started. So our very first career conversation session is going to cover the top 10 things to do if you've lost your job, or you want to start looking, or if you're just worried about the future of your current job at your current company. This is a crazy time we're currently in, so I totally understand that you might want to look at all your options just in case. So let's talk about the first tip. So if you've been laid off, and this is more directed towards anyone who's just been laid off, make sure you get a letter from your HR department. So if you've already been laid off and you haven't done this, please feel free to shoot your HR department an email or give them a call and ask them if they can send this letter over to you. This is very standard for any HR department, so it won't be out of the ordinary for you to ask for this. Or they can just send you an email stating that you were laid off. As long as it has their role and the company name, it should be fine. If it's a letter, if it can be in company letterhead, that's ideal. They do not have to go into details around why the layoffs happened or anything like that. This is just something for you to have on hand so you can bring it with you when you go on interviews. And if they ask about it, from experience, it's not typical that they'll ask for it. Usually bigger corporations would ask for something like this, but it's just something that's nice for you to have on hand. So once you've talked to HR and you get everything squared away, talk to your boss, especially if you have a good relationship with them. Ask them if they would be willing to be a referral or serve as a recommendation for you. And this goes for anybody at any company you've ever worked at. Start thinking of who you would want to use as those recommendations. LinkedIn has a really cool feature called recommendations. So if you had a really good relationship with your former boss or colleague, or this could be a professor or a classmate, reach out to them and ask them if they'd be willing to write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn. So a recommendation on LinkedIn is essentially a testimonial about the fact that you were a great coworker and that they enjoyed working with you. They can write a few specific items about the work you did and that you did it well. So this will look really great on your profile, and any recruiter or hiring manager that looks at your profile will actually be able to see it as soon as they go on there. Another thing that people always ask about is if they should have a list of references on their resume. So don't worry about that, because references don't come into play until you're actually getting a potential offer. So have those references waiting. Definitely start reaching out to them now and ask them if you can use them as a reference, but you don't have to do anything with them right now. All right, most important tip of the day, take a breath. Like I said earlier, this is a crazy time. We're all stuck at home. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. We have no idea what's going to happen next week or next month. And if you've been laid off, if you've been furloughed, whatever's going on, if you're worried about the state of your company, the role, you're allowed to feel whatever you want to right now. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be scared. But whatever it is you're feeling, take a moment and feel those feelings. And this is really important, because if you are going through a hard time and you don't take a moment to feel those feelings right now, those hard feelings could come out at a later time, and it might not be such a great time. So you don't want to lash out at a later time. Feel those feelings now. Take a day, take a day or two to feel whatever you need to, whatever you need to do. Take a day to yourself, lounge around, watch Netflix, be lazy. But then now that you've had a time to kind of feel everything you are feeling, go right into your job search. You've had time to decompress. Keep in mind, you can't control what happened, but you have all the control in the world around what happens next. So take a deep breath. You've got this. So let's go on to the next tip. All right, so once you've gotten everything squared away with your work, you've taken a day to take a breath, register for unemployment. I understand this is a crazy time. The unemployment lines are really long right now, and maybe you've been trying to call and it's been taking a long time, but this is really important. So make sure you do this sooner than later. Even if you've received a severance package from your company, make sure you do this as soon as possible. With everything going on, the government is actually giving an extra $600 per week because of COVID-19. So this is part of an emergency federal compensation fund, and they're giving this, so it's $600 per week on top of whatever your state is giving you through July 31st. Also, in addition to going to the unemployment office, make sure you talk with your HR department and get everything squared away as far as when you'll be receiving your last paycheck. Is any PTO that's rolled over, is that going to be included in it? What's going on with your 401k, retirement plans, any bonuses or expenses that are due to you? And check in on what's going on with your healthcare benefits, how long you'll have those for. If you need healthcare benefits and your work is not extending them, check in with the unemployment office on COBRA. So COBRA is health insurance program for those who are unemployed or who are seeing a reduction in their hours. All right, let's jump into the fun stuff. Creating a job search plan. So once you've gotten everything squared away, before you just go out in the world and shoot out 50 applications, put some thought around it. It's really important to use this time to create a plan around your job search and create some goals. Really put some time and thought into a few important questions. So put some time around, what kind of role are you looking for? Maybe you want to use this time to move somewhere completely different, whether it's a new area, a new city, a new state. Maybe you want to use this time to pivot into a new role within your industry or move into a completely different industry. So put some thought around what that is, what that looks like, and answer this question. What is the most important thing to you when you're looking for a new job? Is it location? Maybe you want to keep the commute pretty short. Is it industry? Is it company size? Is it the benefits, work-life balance, company culture? It could be one of those things. It could be a number of those things. Whatever it is, make a list and stay organized. Like I said, put some goals around what it is you're looking for. You're allowed to be picky in your job search. And whatever those goals are, make sure that you're only applying to jobs that fit those goals. And then the second part is to stay organized. So use this time to create a super basic spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be anything too complicated, but create a spreadsheet to stay organized in your job search. This is really important because one of the worst things you can do is apply to the same job multiple times. The HR department, the hiring manager, they're going to see that as being sloppy and disorganized. So having a basic spreadsheet kind of eliminates that problem. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can keep it as simple as a column for company, role, job ID if it's applicable, the date you applied, and then create a column to keep track of the status and any notes. So maybe the status is that you applied and you sent a follow-up email 3 days later. Maybe it's that you have a phone interview scheduled. Or maybe it's that you were rejected or the job expired. So keep track of all of these things so you can reference it every step of the way of your job search. So now that you have a plan in place, it is time to update your resume. So this is really important. Whether you've updated your resume 10 times in the last 2 years, or you haven't made any updates to your resume in the last 10 years, take this time to reformat and give your resume a much needed facelift. Your resume serves as your first impression with your application. So it's really important to make sure it is a quality resume. Most recruiters will only spend about 6 seconds looking at your resume upon initially deciding who they want to bring in. So you want to make sure that you're making that 6 seconds worth their while. I recommend keeping your resume to 1 page. As a former recruiter, I rarely looked past a first page of a resume. If I saw a 3 or granted a 5 or 6 page resume, I really wouldn't give it too much time. You'd be really surprised at how much you can get into a 1 page resume. It doesn't have to be super detailed. That's why they bring you in for an interview. Keep the bullets short and to the point. You really only need 2 to 3, maybe 4 bullets per job, and really maximize the first word of every bullet. Use really good creative action verbs. Try to stay away from saying things like responsible for XYZ or managed or made or created. really try to dig in and think of some creative action verbs that you can use to really maximize the first 5 words of every bullet. If you worked in a sales role or anything where you can use percentages or data or numbers, definitely incorporate those. That will really stick out on your resume. Keep in mind, like I said, 1 page, less is more. It will go a long, long way. And then that's where LinkedIn comes into play. So LinkedIn is great because anything that you have to leave off of your resume, you can put on your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a LinkedIn, guess what? This is a great time to get one created. Most hiring managers expect candidates to have a LinkedIn profile, and it's not that difficult to have one created. So take some time, create a LinkedIn profile, and make sure it's updated. You can actually copy and paste the bullets and information you already have on your resume and transfer them over to your LinkedIn profile. Just make sure on your LinkedIn profile you expand it a little bit. This is where you can really dive more into your story. Another tip for LinkedIn, there is a feature on LinkedIn, if you go to your profile page, where you can select that you're actively looking. So recruiters have a special LinkedIn recruiter profile that they can use to just search for people who are active in the job search. So make sure you have this updated as well as your headline. So make sure your headline, which is the section that goes right underneath your profile picture, is updated to say something like Java developer actively seeking employment or looking for a new opportunity, something short and simple. Now you're ready to start applying. So according to Business Insider, for every 27 applications you submit, that should result in 1 interview. That sounds like a lot, and it sounds exhausting. But something that we tell our students at Tech Elevator is the job search, the job application, it's a numbers game. The more applications you get out, the more likely you are to see return on the other side. Now, I'm not saying go out and apply to 50 jobs just to apply and just to get an interview. Because if you end up getting an interview at a company you don't want, then it's a waste of your time and their time. So make sure these are quality applications. I also understand that some roles, some industries may have more jobs posted than others. So take some time around it and set a goal. We usually recommend that our students apply to 5 jobs a week, but the more the merrier. So set a goal for yourself. Maybe you want to send out an application for 10 jobs a week, or maybe your industry doesn't have as many jobs posted, so you want to aim for 3 a week. But set some goals around that for yourself. While it is a numbers game, don't apply to a job unless you're truly, truly interested. And keep in mind that some interview processes, most interview processes, I should say, take a little bit. So if you apply to a job today, don't expect to hear back by Friday or even next week. Most companies are going to take a few weeks, maybe even up to a month or 2 months to start getting back to you. So be patient and just keep pumping out those applications. All right, time to get your network on. So you might be thinking, Kelly, you're crazy. We can't network right now. We're practicing social distancing. I get it. But there are some awesome virtual events going on, like this one. A lot of companies and organizations are looking at ways to take events that they've already had planned and repurpose them into virtual events. Zoom and other conference call softwares are making that really easy. So go on meetups.com or do a quick Google search and start looking for some more upcoming virtual events. There are so many posted right now. So you should be able to go to 1 or 2 a week if you do some digging. If you have a local Slack channel, check that as well. In Cleveland, we have a Cleveland Tech Slack channel that is awesome, and they have an event section where people are constantly posting events. So do some research and digging in there. Also, LinkedIn groups. So if you're on LinkedIn already, you should be familiar with LinkedIn groups. Use these to network. Also, tap into the network that you already have. Each and every one of you already has a small, maybe a big network of family and friends. Start reaching out to them. Let the people in your network know that you're currently looking for a new opportunity. You never know who you might know. For all you know, your cousin's best friend's mom could be the CEO of your dream company. And all it takes is a quick message over to her to help get your resume in front of the hiring manager there. Every job that I've ever had, with the exception of my first job at the news station, was as a result of networking. I mentioned earlier how I landed the job at Tech Elevator from meeting our CEO, Anthony, at a networking event. 6 months later, I landed the job. So it's not all about who you know, but I will tell you that knowing people definitely helps. All right, preparation for interviews. This is really, really important. You should never go into an interview without doing some level of preparation. So this means researching the company, researching the job description, researching the interviewers. You also have to be prepared to answer the most common interview question. Tell me about yourself. So start practicing your pitch for that question now. Keep it short, to the point. Don't ramble. Don't go off on any tangents. And keep it to 60 to 90 seconds. If they have questions or want more details, I promise they will ask. Why is a pitch important? Well, 1/3 of hiring managers know within the first 90 seconds whether they're going to interview, whether they're going to hire somebody or not. So first impressions are very, very important. So make the most of that answer to tell me about yourself. Also, if you have been laid off, make sure you're prepared to answer questions around the layoff, or if you've been fired, if you have any gaps on your resume, if you have any situations like that that are not great to talk about, they might ask you about that. The best advice I can give you for this is less is more. Keep it short, to the point. They most likely will not pry for details. So don't worry about getting into the nitty-gritty details of why you were laid off, or why you were fired, or why you haven't had a job for a year and a half. Keep it short and to the point, and own your story. If you own it, they won't see any red flags. And finally, you have no control over being laid off, but you have all the control in the world over how you react to it and what happens next. So keep the focus on your job search and what kind of job is going to make you happiest after this. Look at your current week like a traditional work week. Your work hours should be spent on your job search, with breaks in between. Maybe you use those breaks to work on your current skill set or learn a new skill. Finding a job is a full-time job. This is something we tell our students on a daily basis. It's hard. You can't just send out a few applications, cross your fingers, and hope and pray that a job results. You have to put time and effort into it. So manage your daily time and block your day into 3 different parts: research, preparation, and applications. So research, doing some digging on the job boards, setting job alerts, putting those jobs that you find on the spreadsheet to come back to and apply to later. Preparation, keeping your resume updated, keeping your LinkedIn profile updated, being active on LinkedIn. If it's been 3 or 4 weeks and you haven't received an interview, maybe make an adjustment to your resume. Look at what you can do differently. And applications, get those applications out there. The hiring managers are not going to know you're looking unless you apply. Outside of your blocks, get up, move your body. Now that the weather's starting to warm up, finally, at least in Cleveland, get outside, take a walk around the block, spend some time with your family. If you're feeling down, pick something positive in your life. You should have at least one thing. I know this is a crazy time, but look at it in a good way. Now you guys get all this extra time with your family and your kids. You have a roof over your head, food on the table, whatever it is. In this crazy, crazy time, make sure you're focusing on something that makes you happy, and use that as the reason to stay focused on your job search. And don't forget, what happens next is completely and utterly up to you. So before we move on to the Q&A, just want to highlight a few things we have coming up. So these are going to be weekly career conversation sessions every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So next week on the 15th, we'll be talking about the top 5 resume updates to make to land a fulfilling job. On the 22nd, we're actually going to have a live panel discussion with some experts across Tech Elevators Network to talk about remote interviewing tips. And then on the 29th, we're going to have a deep dive into my favorite thing, LinkedIn. Also, if you're interested in tech elevator and making a career change, we do have some virtual open houses coming up today at noon, 5, and 7:30. Even though these are location specific, if you are not at a location that is having a open house today, that is okay. Our open houses are not location specific. So the content is still the same. The only difference is you might be meeting specific instructors and campus team members at that location. So if you're interested in joining one of those, you can go to our website, techelevator.com/events to register. Also, check out our career resources page. So our amazing marketing team has put together this brand new page to share some of our career resources from our Pathway program. So we have sections on resumes, LinkedIn, interviewing, and a lot of different things that I talked about today. So if you have an additional question that we did not get a chance to answer today, you should find your answer on here.